So the other day I'm at work and for some reason, I don't know why I thought of the meme, Hide the Pain Harold meme. I don't know if you guys have seen it before. It's a meme of this guy, and the background of the story, I looked it up on Wikipedia, is that this guy was asked to take some stock photos. I guess he works part-time as a model, and he was asked to take some stock photos for this company of just like, I guess, around the office or around a home or around an office. The distinct thing about these pictures is that the way that he smiles is like, it's almost like a fake smile. Man, it looks like he's smiling, but it looks like he's in pain. And so there's this meme, Hide the Pain Harold, which the guy's real name isn't Harold. I forgot I think his name is Andres or something like that.
Andras Arato.
And it's just this funny meme, and it reminded me, I don't know why I was at work. I don't remember what brought that thought to my head, but it made me think of a video idea, and it reminded me of a story that actually happened not at work, but with some of my friends from work. And so here's the setting. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's around the middle of summer. I think it's early July, and we had a really hot summer. So a great day to be on the lake, kind of cool off in the water. And we're all having a really good time. And we're just kind of hanging out in the water, or people are on the boat, just having a really good time. And because it's a beautiful day, I decided to bring my drone and decide to fly my drone, get some shots of the day, just to, for the memories. And so I'm flying my drone around, and the people on the boat, they take off because they're going to a cliff, maybe a mile or two away, something like that. And I had gone to the bathroom, so when I came back, I realized the boat took off, and I couldn't really follow the boat as they were going. So I was like, you know what? Let me take my drone. I kind of know the general direction. I was asking a couple of people, and I was like, okay, let me shoot my drone off in that direction. And to this point, I'd been flying my drone for a little bit through the day, and I was maybe 75% of my last battery. But I was like, okay, no, I can do it. I think I got enough battery. I can be in flight for about 20 minutes. I don't think it should take that long. And so I launched my drone out. I'm flying, and I pass an island, and I'm pretty far out, and I'm like, okay, but my battery's pretty good. I'm down from 75% down to about 50%. So I went through 25%. I still have enough to get back, and I realized I wasn't going to be able to find them. So I was like, okay, I got twice the amount of battery that it took for me to get to this point. So let me just turn around, and I should be able to get back home with enough cushion. But as I turn around and start flying, I noticed that there's a part in the corner that says how far you are from shore. I noticed that it's not going down as quickly as I think, and it doesn't seem like my drone is flying very quickly. And I see my batteries, which my battery indicator is like right above it, and I see it starting to dwindle. Then I see the other measurement that's on the top of my screen, and it says the wind speed. And as I looked at it, I don't remember the number, but it was pretty high. And that's when it hit me, and I kind of realized that, hey, I was flying with the wind going that way, but now to get back to shore, I'm flying against the wind, which is not great. So I take my drone and I drop it as low and close to the water as I can, because the higher you fly, the more wind you're fighting against. So I was like, let me drop it low. Let me try to fly close to the ground so that I'm not hitting the wind. And I'm flying the drone. I'm watching the battery slowly dwindle down. I'm watching my distance to shore, and it's just not moving fast enough. And I'm beginning to sweat, and I was like, what have I done? My thumb is like smashed against the throttle because I'm trying to bring back my drone as quickly as I can. And I think I was maybe 1,000 meters away, and my battery is around 5-10%. And at this point, because it has a safety, it says unable to, because they don't want you to just crash. It says battery depleted, forcing landing now. And I was about 1,000 meters away, no land for 1,000 meters, and my drone is being force landed on the water. And so I see my drone slowly climbing down, and then connection cuts off. Either the battery died or I hit the water. And when that happened, I was pretty crushed because, for one, I was like, man, I just crashed my $600 drone. The second thought that came to my head is, we have been having such a fun day and such a good day together as a work family, and I do not want this to bring the party down. I don't want to bring the mood down. A couple of people asked me where my drone is at, and I'm like, I crashed it into the water. And they feel really bad for me, but it was completely my fault. And I've always been somebody who's known for being very, very nice. I don't complain very much. I always try to smile and be nice to everybody. So at this point, I got my public persona on, and I'm just smiling and trying to not bring the mood down of the party. And one of my friends says to me, it's like, Luke, look at that. You just crashed your drone and you're still smiling. And they were kind of just joking. When they said it, I was like, I'm smiling on the outside, but I'm dying dying inside, and I was dying inside. Like I was beating myself up inside pretty good, and just like devastated by losing my drone, which I had just gotten recently. That was actually my 100th flight that I took. You know, growing up, I learned to always put my best foot forward. If you smile, if you're nice to people, you have a lot higher chance of being liked by people, and I think I've done a pretty good job of it. I kind of have the reputation of being a really nice guy, but it led to me not always being honest with my feelings or telling people what I actually wanted out of the fear of upsetting somebody, like I did in this case. My close friends and I have this phrase that we always say whenever we're trying to decide where to go. We always say, I'm DFW, or I'm down for whatever. And it's kind of a running joke at this point because we kind of just use it to piss each other off. We'll just all say it, and then we're back to square one because we didn't make any progress, and we're not any closer to figuring out where to go. Growing up, I watched a lot of SpongeBob, and there was this episode of SpongeBob where Plankton is trying to teach SpongeBob to be assertive. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but it always kind of resonated with me as a kid, funny enough. It really made me reflect on my own life, on my non-assertive self, like most SpongeBob episodes tend to do, just really make you reflect. But I thought maybe I need to be more assertive. But I've always been just very conscious of other people's feelings in that never-ending quest to be liked by every human being in the world. And that led me to never really being honest about my feelings with anyone, not even my close friends or family. But as I'm getting older, maybe it's because I'm wiser, hopefully, and because I watch less SpongeBob, I realized that keeping all the negative emotions inside is not the way to live your life. I remember I was maybe 8 months into my first job as a nurse, and I was working at a nursing home, which is a very physically and mentally demanding job, and I was just absolutely exhausted from the workload. I was working a schedule that really made having a social life difficult because I worked from 2:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., which is when most people have time to spend with their friends and go out and do stuff, and I didn't have a lot of weekends off, so it just made it really difficult to be able to see people, and my schedule was inconsistent too, so that's another thing. But I didn't really get to hang out with my friends or my fiance at the time, who's now my wife. On top of that, I was really struggling with imposter syndrome because I was a new nurse and struggling to find my place and footing, and I was just burnt out, really burnt out, even being so new to the medical field. So instead of sharing how I was feeling with the people close to me, instead I coped with it like I usually did in the past and sometimes still do in the present. I coped by eating junk food and buying tech and then distracting myself with video games on my time off. I remember there was one night, one of my days off, where me and my fiance, we went out to go eat, and we're driving on I-35 on one of those rare days, and we started arguing about something. I don't remember what it was about. I asked her about it, and she doesn't remember what it was about. But I think at this point, I had never really truly shared how I was feeling about work and all the negative emotions and how tired I was. And maybe I'd shared, but not to the extent that I should have been. And all of a sudden, I just exploded. And I think I yelled, "I'm just so tired." And then I did something I don't think I had really done very often in front of her, which was cry. I started crying and I couldn't help it. Like I couldn't stop it. I wanted to, but it was just full on tears of frustration. All the stress and anger and frustration of the past few months just came boiling up to the surface all at once. And I remember my fiance looks at me, and I think she was just pretty shocked, and she holds my hand and she said something along the lines of, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was that bad." And in that moment, it was like a huge wave of relief had just washed over me. And I think it was that feeling of just being known that I wasn't alone anymore, that somebody knew just how badly I was struggling. And it was a feeling that I really hadn't experienced a lot in my life. It's just that I personally always kept these things to myself, and I never really shared how I was feeling very often growing up, instead finding ways to just distract myself. It reminds me of the C.S. Lewis quote, which I actually shared in a recent video. But actually, maybe let me just play that video for you.
To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark,
Look at this shot, baby.
motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable.
Back to the video. I know that for a lot of guys, one of the biggest shame triggers is the perception of being seen as weak. Even as I typed out that sentence talking about me crying to my wife, the thought definitely went through my head, what will other guys think of what I just said? And old Luke, in the quest to be liked and approved by everyone and prove that he's a man, would probably just take it out of the video and just not share that portion, that very vulnerable portion. But I'm gonna let researcher and author Daniel Pink back me up on this one. In his book, The Power of Regret, which I listened to last week, which really resonated with me, Daniel Pink says this: the first step in reckoning with all regrets is self-disclosure. We're often skittish about revealing to others negative information about ourselves. It feels awkward, even shameful. But an enormous body of literature makes clear that disclosing our thoughts, feelings, and actions by telling others or simply by writing about them brings an array of physical, mental, and professional benefits. Such revelation is linked to reduced blood pressure, better grades, better coping skills, and more. And I know what a lot of you might be thinking: if I tell other people about my weaknesses and low moments and struggles, they're gonna think less of me. But if you look at the research, it shows the opposite. Again, from The Power of Regret, people who engage in intimate disclosures tend to be liked more than people who disclose at lower levels. And while I think having someone or a group of people that you can be vulnerable and transparent with is important, for one reason or another, not all of us are quite there yet. Not all of us are ready to share with other people, and that's okay. You don't have to start there. You don't have to start a whole YouTube channel and blast your problems to the world. I just do it because I love books, I love making videos, and I love sharing what I've learned with you guys so that you guys can use it in your lives. But if you don't want to do it the same way that I've done it, that's completely fine, because the research also shows that there's a benefit to even just writing down our thoughts and feelings. Benefits like fewer visits to physicians, long-term improvements in mood, strengthened immune function, better grades for students, finding jobs more quickly for the unemployed, and more. And there is such a thing as oversharing, which is a whole video topic itself, but let me touch briefly on it because this is something that I've been very mindful and careful of not doing, to not overshare with you guys. And like I usually do, I've consulted my favorite author for some advice on how to avoid oversharing. So Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, says this: when it comes to vulnerability, connectivity means sharing our stories with people who have earned the right to hear them, people with whom we've cultivated relationships that can bear the weight of our story. Is there trust? Is there mutual empathy? Is there reciprocal sharing? Can we ask for what we need? Whether it's a friend, a group of friends, significant other, I think it's important to find people we can share our struggles with. I have my wife, my family, and my close friends. But like I talked about before, if you don't know who those people are, I really recommend going through those criteria and trying to find them, and try to find people who you can both share with and who will also share their struggles with you. But as you're looking through those criteria I just listed, you may be wondering, Luke, does that mean we can't share our struggles with, say, a small, medium, or large audience at work, at school, at church, or on YouTube? Since we don't have a relationship with those people that we're sharing with, because sometimes, I don't know who's watching behind the screen. I don't really necessarily know you guys personally. So when I first re-listened to Daring Greatly, I was in the early stages of starting my YouTube channel, so it gave me some pause when I heard that part. But Brené is often asked this as well because she is a very coveted speaker who often shares personal stories with large audiences, and she actually has some criteria and a few questions she asks herself before sharing in public, which I've also adopted myself. So let me share them here with you if you plan on sharing to groups of people you don't know, like I'm doing right now. So the first criteria is this: only share experiences that you've worked through and feel that you can share from solid ground. So this excludes things that may be a bit too intimate, fresh wounds, or things you're still mentally working through. The second criteria is this: share to teach or move a process forward, but don't use it as a way to work through your personal stuff. And this goes back to the part of sharing stuff that you've already worked through. You don't want to share things that you're still not on solid ground with and you're not fully processed through. You need to share things that you've already worked through, and you don't want to blast to the public things that you're still trying to process yourself. And the third criteria that I use and that Brené uses is this: share when you have no unmet needs left to fill in regards to that specific story and/or topic. As Brené says, being vulnerable with a larger audience is only a good idea if the healing is tied to the sharing, not to the expectation I might have for the response I get. You don't share because you expect a response from people. You share because you want to help other people, which is my intention with a lot of these videos that I'm sharing. And this is similar to what I talked about in my video about being enough. It is so important that our sharing comes from a place of love and joy, not from neediness or approval seeking. So let me leave y'all with one last quote from Brené, which sums up this video and maybe even my channel as a whole. Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us the most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light.